So let's talk about being a peacekeeper, that person who always smooths things over, who can't stand conflict. But what if I told you that's not just your personality? What if it's actually a highly developed survival skill you are forced to learn?
I want you to think about this for a second. An argument starts up across the room. It has nothing to do with you. But do you feel it? That jolt in your stomach, your heart starting to race? If that sounds familiar, then you know exactly what we're talking about today. Because that urge to jump in, to calm things down, to make it all okay, it's not just you being nice. It's a deeply ingrained response. It's something your brain learned to do, very deliberately, to keep you safe. All right, so let's dig into where this actually comes from, because this goes way deeper than just a personality quirk. It's a learned adaptation, a pattern that gets wired in when you grow up in a very specific kind of environment. Let's just redefine peacekeeper right here. We're not talking about someone who just prefers harmony. No. We're talking about someone who feels a compulsion to create it, because they learned early on in a high-stress home that managing the emotional temperature of a room was their most important job. It was about survival. So how does a pattern like this even get started? Well, it often begins with a role that some kids adopt without even realizing it. They become the easy child. Think about it. If you're a little kid in a house that's already full of stress and tension, you figure out really fast that adding your own needs to the mix is like pouring gasoline on a fire. So what do? You learn to be quiet, to be helpful, to be low demand. It's a brilliant, unconscious survival strategy. And this kicks off a kind of chain reaction. It starts in that high-tension home. You learn to play the low-demand role. And after a while, it's not a conscious choice anymore. It becomes automatic. You walk into a room and you're immediately scanning faces, reading tones, looking for any little sign that things are about to go south. And over time, this role gets heavier. It evolves into something that psychologists call parentification, and it comes with a pretty big emotional price tag. So what is parentification? It's essentially a role reversal. The child becomes the emotional caretaker for the adults. You're the one mediating fights, soothing hurt feelings, carrying burdens that are way too heavy for your shoulders. You become the grown-up in the room. When you spend all of your energy just trying to manage everyone else's emotions, you start to internalize a really powerful and painful message. My feelings don't matter. They're inconvenient, a burden, something to be pushed down and ignored. And this creates this huge gap, right, between how people see you and how you actually feel. On the outside, everyone thinks you're so easygoing, so low maintenance. But on the inside, a quiet belief can take root. That you're only loved, you're only valued when you're useful, when you're solving a problem for someone else. And this is why something as simple as setting a boundary or just saying no can feel absolutely terrifying. It's not just awkward for you. To your brain's survival wiring, it feels genuinely dangerous. Because if being useful equals safety, then saying no could feel like risking rejection or even abandonment. All of this leads to a really fascinating paradox. It's the reason you can be a rock star in a crisis, but you feel completely on edge when things are quiet and calm. So why is peace so stressful? Well, there's actually a name for this. It's called stress inoculation. Basically, you've had so much exposure to chaos, you've become an expert at it. So when a real crisis hits, you're the most functional person in the room because for you, it's just another Tuesday. So you get this bizarre split. In the middle of an emergency, you're focused, efficient, almost eerily calm. But when things are quiet, when everything's peaceful, that's when your nervous system goes on high alert, just waiting for the other shoe to drop. And it's because your brain learned a crucial lesson a long time ago. Quiet doesn't mean safe. Quiet is just the pause before the storm. This makes it almost impossible to truly relax because some part of you is always braced for the next impact. Okay, so if any of this is hitting home, what now? Where do you go from here? It all starts with reframing this entire pattern, not as a character flaw, but as a powerful testament to your own strength. Honestly, the biggest step forward is just this. Understanding why you are the way you are. This isn't about blame. It's about having some compassion for yourself and recognizing the incredible adaptive way your mind figured out how to protect you. And once you have that understanding, you can start working with your mind instead of constantly fighting against it.
Just let that sink in for a moment. Think about what that really means. Your incredible sense of responsibility, your deep well of strength, they were forged out of pure necessity. You weren't given the luxury of being soft because you were too busy having to be strong for everyone else. And that leads us right here to the final and maybe the most important question of all. You have spent a lifetime becoming an expert at keeping the peace for other people. What would happen if you decided to turn all of that skill, all that strength, and all that care inward and decided that your own peace was finally worth keeping?